teacher. Today I'm going to talk about fourth wave feminism. So what is fourth wave feminism? Fourth wave feminism is the latest wave of feminist movements. It started in the early 2010s and continues to grow. This wave focuses on gender inequality and other social issues. Fourth wave feminism believes that gender inequality is connected to other types of discrimination like race, class, sexuality, and disability. It wants to address the experiences of all women and their complex identities. Technology and social media are important tools for fourth wave feminism. Online spaces help feminists connect, share stories, and raise awareness. Hashtags like #MeToo, #TimesUp, and #YesAllWomen have become popular and bring attention to issues like sexual harassment and violence against women. This wave of feminism changes traditional ideas about gender roles and stereotypes. It wants to end patriarchy and promote gender equality in areas like politics, education, work, healthcare, and media representation. It also supports consent education, body positivity, reproductive rights, LGBTQ+ rights, and inclusive language. Fourth wave feminism also focuses on amplifying the voices of marginalized women within the movement. It recognizes that some groups of women were left out or ignored in earlier wave of feminisms. Understanding intersectionality helps to see how different types of discrimination overlap and affect women. The three topics that I chose are intersectionality, the internet, and gender roles. Intersectionality is a key aspect of fourth wave feminism. It means understanding that people face different forms of discrimination based on their intersecting identities like race, class, sexuality, and disability. Fourth wave feminists knows that women's struggles are influenced by these intersecting identities. They want to create a more inclusive movement and address the needs of all women, especially the ones who are marginalized or not represented. The internet and social media have had a big impact on the fourth wave feminist movement. Online platforms gives people space to share their experiences, raise awareness about gender inequality, and mobilize for change. Hashtags like #MeToo and #TimesUp have been very popular, allowing survivors of sexual harassment and assault to share their stories and bring attention to bigger problems. Online activism helps marginalized voices be heard and brings people together from all over the world. Fourth wave feminism also challenges traditional gender roles and wants to redefine them in more inclusive ways. It understands that gender isn't just made for male or female, but it can be a spectrum. This wave supports people expressing themselves authentically without being limited by societal expectations. It wants to break harmful stereotypes and promote equality in education, work, politics, or relationships. So, my view on fourth wave feminism is I see that fourth wave feminism as a movement that focuses on breaking down gender roles by emphasizing that each woman is different and woman's worth is not dependent on her femininity. I like that fourth wave feminism is more intersectional and inclusive than previous waves. I think that by advocating for different type of women, fourth wave feminism has the best chance of helping women across all different cultures, races, ethnicities, and socio-economic classes. Because it is more inclusive, I think that it has a better chance of making social, economic, and political changes for women. I think there is more emphasis today on breaking down traditional gender roles. For example, Women are more likely to go into STEM fields or male-dominated areas. There is also more conversation about consent, body positivity, and mental health. I think that fourth-wave feminism is also trying to make women's issues more visible by having more women speak out online and their experiences as women. Another thing that is common in fourth-wave feminism is social media. A lot of people who are active in fourth-wave feminist communities are involved in things like body positivity, body image, and anti-fat shaming. These movements have gained a lot of popularity and visibility through the use of social media, but some may agree or disagree with me. While I was talking about my perspective, it made me realize that my viewpoints are the same as most feminists. We share the same opinions and we stand the same ground, but some may view it as too much. While doing research, I came across a mom saying, quote and unquote, "We don't need fourth-wave feminism, whatever the heck that is. We need to succeed now, cement our equal rights in the framework of the USA, and force our government to meet the needs of women and the way it caters to men. We pay taxes too, and we deserve a government that meets our needs. Fair pay, equal rights, reproductive freedom, paid maternity leave, and subsidized childcare." However, but I did some more research. From all those videos that I watched, I noticed that conservatives may argue that fourth-wave feminism, like other waves before it, places excessive emphasis on identity politics. They believe that this approach tends to fragment society into various victimized groups based on gender, race, or sexual orientation. Conservatives often prioritize individual merit and character over group identity and view identity politics as divisive and detrimental to society unity. Critics may contend that fourth-wave feminism perpetuates a victimhood culture where women are encouraged to see themselves as victims of a patriarchal society. Conservatives may argue that this victimhood mentally undermines personal responsibility and resilience, and promoting a culture of entitlement and dependency. Conservatives may argue that the previous waves of feminism has already made significant strides in achieving gender equality. They may question the necessity of a fourth wave and argue that further activism could risk undermining the progress already made. From their perspective, excessive focus on gender issues may overshadow other important societal concerns. Some conservatives may criticize fourth-wave feminism as an outgrowth of cultural Marxism. They argue that it seeks to fundamentally reshape society by challenging traditional gender roles, family structures, and cultural norms. Conservatives may view these challenges as threats to established societal values and traditions. Abortion and reproductive rights can be contentious issues within feminism. From a conservative standpoint, the pro-choice stance of many feminists in the fourth wave may clash with conservative values that prioritize the sanctity of life and traditional family structures. Critics may argue that fourth-wave feminism promotes an anti-men's sentiment, portraying all men as inherently oppressive or harmful. Conservatives may assert that this generation is unfair and fails to recognize the contributions and positive aspects of masculinity. By comparing these perspectives, I have noticed that my perspective emphasizing breaking down gender roles, promoting inclusivity, and addressing women issues across diverse cultures, races, ethnicities, and socio-economic classes. I believe that fourth-wave feminism has the best chance of affecting social, economic, and political changes for all women. The perspective But the perspective of the mom that I mentioned prioritizes immediate needs such as equal rights, fair pay, reproductive freedom, paid maternity leave, and subsidized childcare. She seeks concrete changes in politics and government support rather than broader societal changes. But my perception on this within politics is that I emphasize on intersectionality and inclusivity as positive aspects of fourth wave feminism. I view it as a means to create more diverse and representative movement. But the conservative perspective criticizes fourth wave feminism for what it is perceived as an excessive emphasis on identity politics. They argue that it can lead to societal fragmentation and prioritize individual merit and character over group identity. I My perspective does not mention victimhood culture explicitly, but it emphasizes the importance of visibility and speaking out about women's experiences. It seems to view these actions as empowering and necessary for social change. As the conservative perspective argues that fourth wave feminism perpetuates a victimhood culture where women are encouraged to see themselves as victims of a patriarchal society. They believe it undermines personal responsibilities and resilience and promotes entitlement and dependency. I see the progress and necessity of fourth wave is by acknowledging the progress made by previous waves of feminism, but sees as a need for further activism and change. I believe that fourth wave feminism builds upon the achievements and past and necessary for continued advancement. The conservative views it as the necessity of fourth wave and argues that previous waves have already achieved significant strides. They express concerns that further activism may risk undermining the progress already made. But on the traditional values and gender roles, I view it as it does not explicitly address traditional values and gender roles. The conservative perspective expresses concerns about challenges to traditional gender roles, family structures, and cultural norms. They view these challenges as threats to established societal values and tradition. And some conservative perspective asserts that fourth wave feminism promotes an anti-men sentiment by portraying all men as inherently oppressive or harmful. They argue that this generalization is unfair and fails to recognize the contributions of and positive aspects of masculinity. This is the conclusion that I have came up with. For intersectional awareness, we can promote intersectional awareness through workshops, seminars, and educational programs. These initiatives should focus on educating individuals about their interconnectedness or various forms of discrimination such as race, class, sexuality, and disability within gender inequality. We can also encourage collaboration between feminist organizations, social justice groups, and advocacy organizations that present different marginalized communities. This collaboration will help ensure that the voices and experiences of all women are included and addressed within the feminist movements. For online activism, we can advocate for digital literacy programs that empower individuals to navigate online spaces safely and effectively. This includes training on privacy, online harassment prevention, fact-checking, and critical thinking skills. We can also encourage individuals to use social media platforms as tools for positive change, emphasize the importance of respectful dialogue, fact-based information sharing, and active engagement in online discussions. Provide resources, guidelines for ethical and inclusive online activism. We can also create and support online communities that foster solidarity, support, and empowerment for marginalized women. These spaces should prioritize inclusivity, respectful dialogue, and amplification of marginalized voices. As for gender role, we can advocate for comprehensive sex education in schools that includes discussions about consent, healthy relationships, gender identity, and sexual orientations. This education should challenge traditional gender roles and stereotypes, promoting inclusivity, acceptance, and we could also develop empowerment programs that encourage individuals, especially young people, to explore their identities and express themselves authentically. These programs can include mentorship, leadership development, and self-esteem building activities. We can promote media literacy programs that help individuals critically analyze and challenge harmful gender stereotypes perpetuated in the media. Encourage media outlets to portray diverse and inclusive representations of gender, breaking away from traditional roles and expectations.